is now being discussed. And it's not because cryptocurrency sold off. It's not because we saw a little drop in the stock market. No. What lawmakers are concerned with right now is jobs. Jobs are disappearing faster than we expected. And it all has to do with AI. Look at this. It says layoffs in January were the highest to start a year since 2009. That is from the recent Challenger report. But it's how we lost these jobs, who lost their job, and why did they lose their job. I want to play you a clip. Listen to this right here.
AI is no longer an abstract threat. It's causing job loss right now, and the headlines, they tell the story. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, on Wednesday released a study that found that artificial intelligence can already replace 11.7% of the U.S. labor market, or as much as 1.2 trillion in wages across finance, healthcare, and professional services.
Over $1 trillion, okay? Over $1 trillion that AI can replace. Here's the problem with this. What happens when we lose all that money? That means consumer spending collapses. Rent and mortgage defaults will be on the rise. There'll be social unrest. Okay, the federal government is going to be hurt because the tax revenue is going to dry up. Now, is this one of the reasons why President Trump is opting for tariffs and why he hasn't actually reversed course? Some say yes. That could be the reason why. Now, I want to read you something though. Look at this right here. It says the U.S. is headed for mass unemployment and no one is prepared. Over the past week, we have heard from Amazon that they are going to replace people. They are going to experience a massive layoff.
Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel abroad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. It says guaranteed income is being discussed. This is from the Snyder Report. He does good shows, man. And but you know, just like any other information, you have to cross-reference to make sure that the information that's being presented is actually accurate. And a lot of things he say be on point because he get it from pretty much credible news sources. But this right here I was reading, it says the U.S. is headed for mass unemployment. Hold on,
that could be the reason why. Now, I want to read you something though. Look at this right here.
Yeah, it says the U.S. is headed for mass unemployment and no one is prepared, which this is a true statement, but it says, well, I'm not familiar with this. I can't tell what source this is coming from because it's covered up. Now it says opinions in finance. Now I have to look this up because, I mean, I don't really see the media coming out and telling people that. But then again, you know, this is the case because clearly jobs are being depleted by the second. This is why everybody is scrambling to come up with these new programs and all this other stuff to maintain some type of federal budget because, you know, things are being phased out. And within this new year, they're figuring out how to cut costs and possibly cut people. So this universal basic income, which is guaranteed income, that's going to be based on a social credit system. We saw that in China. Okay, and we're going to see that in various parts of the world when it comes to government-based income because the jobs are not going to be here. And in order for you to receive this income, you're going to have to be in some type of, it's going to be in classes. I did a lesson on it maybe a year and a half ago, and the brothers and myself, we went into it. I had this article, and it goes into how people are going to be staged in classes, meaning that you're going to have the upper class, which is not going to be taxed. They're going to have a spending limit of unlimited. They can spend whatever they want to spend. They're not going to be subjugated to juice mandates and random wellness checks and all this other stuff. But with the middle class, which is you're seeing being depleted by the second, this is the reason why they created the Federal Reserve, you know, to really wipe out the middle class, to tax the middle class. because the middle class keeps the poor fed, so to speak, and it keeps the rich in power. So we're literally like the table legs for the rich and the poor, you know, because you have more middle class people working than anything. But regardless of that, this universal basic income, which is being pretty much the processor to the chip, because I believe with the chip and this UBI is going to all be contained in the microchip, man, because you're going to be able to swipe your hand and be able to buy whatever you need to buy. But even with that, they're going to have your income. They're going to have all your information on the microchip. So it's just my thought that once the social credit system is completely set up, they're going to start doing this by classes, man. You know, from your doctors, your lawyers, you know, your politicians, and then, you know, you're going to have your lower level workers like your paramedics and your city workers and all that other stuff that's going to be getting chipped in stages. And even then, you're only going to have a certain limit. So they may give you $1,000 a month to spend because, you know, based on your social history, you know, based on how standing you are with the government, you know, based on if you're a reliable citizen or whatever, if you pay your taxes on time. If you're behind on taxes, then they'll deduct that. You're behind on child support, they would deduct that. So this is all about control, man. All right. And we've been telling you people for the longest that they will generate a system that's going to require you to opt into this new world order by accepting the mark of the beast in order to continue with your life, man. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening. So all this AI shit, that's all a ploy, man. Yeah, AI is responsible for taking jobs, but who's controlling the AI? You know? So it's not looking too good for the average person because, hey, the average person, hey, you can either work or you can get the money, whichever you're going to do. But if you don't have one of those fields that requires a human demand, then 9 times out of 10, your job is going to be replaced by AI because, hey, not a lot of nurses are getting laid off. Hell, they saying that you got something which is called telehealth, which telehealth, you deal with things as far as like virtually. And then, you know, sometimes in certain fields, you have like AI assistants that can tell you exactly what's going on. Well, hey, you know, your doctor is your doctor may be AI telebot 007 or some shit. And then they getting live blood readings on you and telling you what disease you may have. That's where it's coming to, man. All right. So anyway, I'm going to play a little bit more of this and we'll get a couple of precepts. But guaranteed income, man, this thing is coming. This thing is moving. They want to fulfill all this by 2030. And we are already pretty much going into the third month of 2026, you know, so things are getting ready to speed up.
It says the U.S. is headed for mass unemployment and no one is prepared. Over the past week, we have heard from Amazon that they are going to replace people. They are going to experience a massive layoff event, and well, those people will be replaced with AI. We know the same thing is going to happen to many other companies. When a big company like Amazon or Meta or Walmart does a move like this, everyone else listens and everyone notices. Once it goes through and they see the results, if they're successful, other companies follow suit. I want to play some for you. Listen to this right here.
Report by the McKinsey Global Institute finding that AI could displace 40% of American jobs due to automation by 2030. That analysis found that robots and AI agents could automate more than half of U.S. work hours, both manual and cognitive, using technology that's available today if companies redesigned how they'll do things in the future.
That's what that devil Elon Musk was saying. He was like, look, AI can pretty much be able to do 90% of these jobs. So factory workers, automation, hell, looking forward. You know, a lot of that shit is automated now. You know, I don't think a AI gonna be able to represent you in court. You ain't gonna have no AI lawyer, but you might. You know what I'm saying? But regardless of that, AI is gonna take a lot of office jobs, man. Like they had this, it was this corporation out here. I think it was called CERN, not CERN. It was called Cerner, and that was like some massive big tech firm that was dealing with like AI and. I think they was dealing with like certain things in the medical fields. And I remember Cerner being big out here for maybe like a year and a half, 2 years. And then before you know it, everybody was laid off. So they got this big empty space with this big empty building with nobody in it, but it still has the logo on there. So I mean, a lot of that can be generated through AI now. So everybody is on edge, man. You know.
Sure. The World Economic Forum projecting that 92 million jobs worldwide may be displaced by 2030. Ford's CEO saying that AI could replace half of all white-collar workers there. NYU professor Scott Galloway predicting that AI will hit middle management first, noting that 6% dropped in managers at public companies since 2022.
Lads, what's the first thing a bird notices about you?
Your natural manly sense.
And what do women hate?
Okay. So you see all these predictions. Elon Musk has been saying this for years. And we've been hearing from many lawmakers that are saying the exact same thing. That AI is ramping up our efforts to possibly provide a guaranteed income. Now, I want to show you something. Look at this right here. Okay, so this was just from a week or so ago. It says universal basic income is needed to cushion blow from AI job losses, says the UK minister, Lord Jason Stockwood. Now
you got to understand this, right? They just not going to give out free money. Okay, what they're not telling you is what you're going to have to do to get this UBI. Okay, you're going to have to opt into something like, hey, the prime minister, no, I don't think it was the prime minister, but that guy basically mentioned, he stated that in order for you to keep your job in the UK, you're going to have to opt into like some type of real ID, some type of ID program. I can't recall it, but I remember he stated that, look, if you want to work, you're going to have biometric data on you. And that's just where they're going with it. And that's the RFID chip. Even if it's not initially, even if it's like some type of a real ID or whatever they may call it, like here in the States, now in order for you to get on a plane, they're requiring real ID. So basically what they mentioned was voluntarily, and, you know, it was just if you wanted to do it or not. Now you have to be compliant. You know, they call it government overreach. But this is the book of Isaiah 42. And I'm going to start at verses 9. It says, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. The prophets we've been speaking on the system is such, the men of the Lord. And not only that, it's been prophesied in the Bible, Revelation, the 13th chapter, 16th verse. All right, for those of you out there that call us conspiracy nuts and saying that we watch Alex Skull and Bone Jones, well, how can you explain this then? And that's why, you know, a lot of you Israelites out there, when it's come to pass, man, what you going to tell your congregations? You going to still say, oh, well, that's not the mark of the beast? No, because if you're telling them it's not the mark of the beast, then they're going to end up getting it because they believe what their leaders tell them. Okay, but the Lord said, behold, former things have come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them through the men of the Lord. So y'all going to find out that the whole time we had it right. You know, we wasn't just blowing smoke because it sounds good and it sounds grim. No, man, this is the real deal. This is what this devil wants to do. And like Apostle Tara say, he says, this is the Most High's mark. So this is getting ready to distinguish the men who's really been about this thing and those that have been playing games that just wanted to be part of something. All right. Revelation 13, and I'm going to start at verses 14. It says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power in the sight of the beast to do, saying them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. That's going into the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, now we're in the modern Roman Empire, which is modeled after the ancient Roman Empire. And the reason it says, I had the power to give life unto the image of the beast. All this is speaking through this new technocracy right now. AI, you know, which is artificial intelligence. Hell, movie scripts are even written by AI now, where you can write movie. You can go to, what is it called? ChatGPT and say, Google me a movie or write me up a action movie script. And it'll do that shit. You see? So it's taking over everything. This is in the form of a technocracy. Like technocrats, you got Elon Musk, you got this dude Bill Gates, which Bill Gates, he was a fucking computer guy, now he was a so-called health expert, you know. He's all these things, but Bill Gates, right? You got Noah Yuval Harari, you got Alex Karp, Peter Thiel. these lower level luminaries, NGOs that's telling people, well, this is what's gonna happen. Corporations, man, and you American people are sitting here looking stupid, complaining over the Super Bowl. You know, you people are cooked, man. But it says that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image should be killed. Yeah, now I was reading something last week. Matter of fact, I did a lesson last week, and it was with Richie from Boston. And he was showing a model of what they were doing in China, how the UBI and the credit-based system, how people was by default locked out of the new system because of their credit rating or their social credit score. And people was homeless. They couldn't ride bikes. They couldn't get on public transportation, all because their scores were too low. When none that they did, but their scores were too low. So if you got parking fines or parking tickets and, you know, court payments, child support, fucking taxes, you may be behind 1 month on your rent. All that's going to be calculated into your social credit score. You see? Which is wicked as all hell. But this is the world we're in because, hey, he's trying to play the Most High. But it says, and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on their right hand or in their foreheads. That's the RFID chip. So this proves that this is talking about a tenocracy, man. Okay, you got Jake's out there that's still not saying that. Jake's still saying that it's sin, it's Christianity. But wait a minute, if we already have the mark of the beast, then there's no repenting for it. According to Revelation 14th chapter, you can't repent from this if you got it. This is talking about something physical. But even among the physicality of it, you're going to have a system that this is generated in through this new tenocracy, which is going to be led by AI. So the UBI, which is the universal basic income, the Palantir, the global surveillance, mass surveillance, and the chip will all be part of this system. And everything is going to be contained on a microchip. But the microchip is going to be predicated based on a digital world. So everything that we're seeing now is being phased out. Now, that's why they're not making pennies anymore. They're getting ready to stop the production of the nickels and all this other shit because the dollar's only worth 7 cents now. So we in them times, man. We're close. And it said, cause it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, here's the problem that I have with it's Christianity or I won't even say an embargo. Christianity. This is the problem I have with that, because if it's Christianity or if it's sin, how can I buy and sell with I got to be in sin to buy and sell? So let's just say if I go through the cash register and I have a picture, and we always use this example, but let's say I have a picture of Cesare, you know, so-called white sweet Jesus, right? And I don't have a picture of this man, then that means that I can't buy a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk. See, that don't make sense. You know, and anybody that's teaching that, you got to question whether they sold out, took the bag, or they're just mentally incompetent. So you gotta check that, man, because that don't make any sense, man. Since when I can't buy and sell if I'm not in sin? But if a system is going to be switched over based on digital payments, and I don't get the necessary if I don't get the necessary payment or the tracking device put in me, then it makes sense when I go down the aisle at Whole Foods and I can't buy this milk. It makes sense that I can't buy because I don't have the necessary requirements in order to buy food now. You see? And they showed you that in Demolition Man. They called them anonymous scraps. They lived underground because they didn't want to converge over to Octo's New World Order, which basically you had to have the chip. So they went underground. They were hiding from the authorities above, man. And from time to time, they'd come out and they'd raid the rich for food and water, you know, because they chose not to opt into society. But as a kid, they would have you to thinking that those were the bad guys, but the men that lived underground, they were actually the good guys, man. And Sylvester, he woke up to that. You know, he said, no, but there's a bunch of people looking for something to eat. You know, he woke up to it, that it was what they call a totalitarian government, man, which we're in. And it says, here's wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, For it is the number of men, and his number is 603 score and six. Okay? So this is what it is. The RFID chip, the universal basic income, social credit score, it all goes under one umbrella. It's easy to understand that if the Spirit of the Lord is working with you. Oh, come on, man. Really? I hate when that happens.
Build me a portfolio website for my photography business. Boom, there it is. Build a beautiful landing page for my online course.
To possibly provide a guaranteed income. Now, I want to show you something. Look at this right here. Okay, so this was just from a week or so ago. It says universal basic income is needed to cushion blow from AI job losses, says the UK minister, Lord Jason Stockwood. Now, why am I bringing this to your attention? Why does the United States care about what the UK is doing? The UK is going to give us a good idea of what we need to do. Okay, I want to read something to you. It says, universal basic income isn't being discussed because politicians suddenly became generous. No, it's being discussed because AI is breaking the job market faster than the government can fix it. So here's what we could see. We could see universal basic income. We could also see more regulation for AI, where we do not allow AI to go and replace 50% of our workforce. But by doing so, would we actually hold the United States back and we could not compete with the other countries? That's the concern. I want to read something else to you though. Listen to this. It says, jobs used to be safe. Okay? White collar jobs were safe. Entry level jobs, especially in the office environment, were safe. Customer service was safe. Data analysis was safe. Healthcare, law enforcement, finance, just law in general. All these things were safe. Now they say, not so much. AI could replace millions of jobs. But here's the question, okay? Here's the big question. Now, this isn't ideal. Providing universal basic income is a way to keep the economy somewhat stable and breathing, while the labor market kind of rewrites itself. Think about the pandemic, for instance. Think about, when all these businesses were shutting down. The federal government had to step in and provided, in a sense, universal basic income. They provided enhanced unemployment benefits to the tune of $600 additionally per week. They provide.
Yeah, I remember that. That's why and everybody had to pay for that shit. It was called work share program. People was eating good. We was working. In order for us to get that, we had to cut our work hours down to 32 hours, and we got that other 8. They gave the extra 600 on top of it, and we still able to keep our benefits. So, but now everything, they didn't have the money, so now everything. Said the next year, hyperinflation kicked in. Well, I won't say hyper, but inflation kicked in, man. And then certain people was required to pay those stimmies back. You see? So yeah, it's this thing is coming ahead. But I'm gonna end it here. I don't have too many precepts to go into. It's pretty straightforward. But I'm gonna end it. All praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Shimi Hawashai. Lord's will, you were edified. To the next lesson. Shalom.
Provided PPP loans. Which again, the PPP loans didn't have to be paid back. They provided the EIDL loans. They provided stimulus checks. Okay, $1,200. What was it? $600, $1,400. They provided all that money. But why? It wasn't something that was going to be a long-term thing. It was going to be temporary. That's the big difference. But the real question is this, or questions. First off, who qualifies? Anybody that is laid off, or anybody that's laid off as a result of AI? Is it how much is going to be the guaranteed money? And can people survive off this? Or will it be like a supplemental income that you have to go and find some other work in order to make your full income? Again, we don't know that. Well, how long is temporary? Will it be for 6 months? Will it be for a year? This is the big question because we don't know how long it will take for AI to be implemented here in the United States. We don't know, right? We have no clue. We've been using AI for more than a year. We've been using it for quite some time, but it was just recently that all these companies decided, you know what? We are going to lay off 8,000 employees. We are going to lay off 15,000 employees here and 2,000 here because, well, we're going to transition to artificial intelligence. That's what they're now telling us. So what's most important about this video here is we are hearing the talks. Politicians are now coming together and saying, yes, we are talking because we don't know what's going to happen. But we do know that we are losing jobs faster than we are able to create new ones. Now, here's where things get interesting. Okay, very interesting. We are going to see people lose their job because of AI. And we know AI is going to be sweeping across the entire world, not just the United States. Every single person is going to be impacted. But, and this is why I say, and lawmakers are saying that this could be temporary, is because AI is likely going to replace millions of jobs. But when AI replaces those jobs, there will likely be new jobs created as a result of AI, and it's working successfully. Here's the issue. We haven't gone through that yet. We are only laying people off now and replacing those jobs with AI. So we don't know what new jobs are going to come out of this as a result of AI being successful. So we're going to see layoffs, and mass layoffs are going to come. Then with that, we are going to see AI replace those workers. But when AI replaces those workers, it will likely take a different turn where it's not going to be AI replaces 50% of the workforce and now they're going to lay off the other 50%, so 100% of people aren't working. No. They're going to lay off 50% of the workforce. AI is going to do its job, and then new jobs will be created. But how long does that take? That right there, we don't know. But lawmakers say they guarantee universal basic income is going to happen at some point and to certain groups. But they haven't said when, who, how much, and for how long. So those are the big questions that we are looking for answers on. But I promise you, I am going to continue to look for this. I will continue to research this. And as soon as we get information on it, I promise I'll bring you all